Sexy Business Team. I'm here with my co-host,
Coni Meyers with Kick Butt Leadership.
and we are at the Hope to Hope Conference. I cannot believe it is session 18. It's hard to believe that this is the third day and all the awesome sauce that has already gone on.
Totally awesome sauce. Oh my goodness.
We've had such a variety of people and stories and just different things about giving people hope. That's the whole point of this whole conversation, this whole conference is just to make sure that people understand that they don't have to stay stuck where they are and that you will get through whatever it is that you're like battling or fighting right now. There's someone who's gone before you, and hopefully we have represented well on this conference that you too can get through.
I have to say, I think that's one of the things I absolutely love about this, and it happens with every conference, is that there's such a variety of people. You know, most of the time when you do something like this, it's a particular theme.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the theme is Hope to Hope, but the variety of people that show up, and it always ends up there's some kind of an underlying theme to it, but the variety of people that show up that bring different perspectives for all kinds of things in our lives, not just one thing, but all different kinds of things in our lives. I think that's the thing I love the most about it.
Yeah, it's exciting to me. And our next guest is no different, I can tell you. Angela Stillwell is the founder, and I always get this backwards, so if I do, you'll just have to correct me. She's the founder of Vulnerability Warrior and Untapped Strengths. She rocked the corporate world like hardcore, and then she brought an amazing sauce of her own to the business world and entrepreneurs, where she teaches people how to have deeper connections. And she's got a tagline she can tell you way better than I can, but I just want to say thank you for saying yes and being with us today, Angela.
It is absolutely my pleasure to be here with you ladies and for everyone who's out there watching.
Well, you know that you are my flavor. You are one of my favorite people, and I love that you are. That's right. I love that you are here because you have stories from the time you were little all the way to this week. Like, that's the thing that Hope to Hope is about. Is it's not that we need hope for just one incident or one season or 1 week of our life. We really go from one hope to another hope in whatever's going on, because even when things are going well in our lives, there are still things that are going to happen in our lives that just happen. And to have this incredible library is how I feel about the conference. This library of people's stories that are real people telling their real stories, you know, using their superpower of vulnerability to share and impact someone else with, they can get through it too. So you are a perfect example. You should be like the poster child.
Well, I am the vulnerability warrior.
Exactly. When I learned what your program was called, I laughed so hard because when I asked you the first time to come and speak at Hope to Hope, I had no idea that was the name of your program. And when I heard that, I thought, oh, yeah, she's perfect. And Cheryl's on with us. Hey, Cheryl. She's on with us this afternoon. I am so excited, though, to hear what you're going to tell us this time. In the archives of another Hope to Hope, you shared some pretty crazy stuff about when you were younger. Yeah. But we really want to talk about like this week.
Yeah, this week has been quite the little challenge too.
However you want to kick it off, you are welcome.
Okay. All right.
I know you have a great message to give to everybody today.
Well, I will tell you, my post today on social media was a quote. Well, one of my posts today on social media was a quote that said, "Interrupt anxiety with gratitude." Mm-hmm. And I saw this quote, I don't know, probably a week and a half ago or so, and I've been hanging on to it for the perfect time to post it, right? And I usually do a theme during the week, like Wednesday wisdom and Thursday, throwback Thursday and flashback Friday and that sort of thing. Well, this whole week has been revolving around being what I call a fur baby mom. For those of you who don't know, I have a Great Dane. I have a barn cat that is almost as big as my Great Dane. And I have an Arabian horse. And a couple of weeks ago, I knew that my Dane, Dharma, was going to have surgery this week on Wednesday. They were going to remove a couple of, I was calling them cysts. The vet was calling them tumors. I like the word cyst better because it sounds better. It doesn't sound as ending. And so I was refusing to say that they were tumors. I've been saying all along that they were cysts. So I knew that she was going to have that surgery on Wednesday. Well, about a week and a half ago, my mare, my horse, started showing up a little bit lame. And so on Friday, I had the farrier, the guy who does the shoeing, come out. And so he comes out and he's like, yeah, I think that she's either taken a tumble or something like that. And there's something going on with her hips, or maybe it's in her neck. It could be in a lot of different places. Let's work on her feet. And then I'm going to give you the name of a massage therapist, and maybe we get an equine dentist out. You guys, people who say healthy as a horse, they have no clue how fragile horses are. I mean, healthy as a horse, I'm glad my horse is healthy, but healthy as a horse, no. I mean, you mess up a foot, you don't have a horse. And that's actually one of the things in the equine world that people say, no horse, no hoof, no horse. Because once their feet go, there's nothing for them to be viable on. You can remove a leg with a dog or a cat and they can survive. You can't do that with a horse. So anyway, on Friday, we worked on her, and we were hoping she was going to get better. Well, over the weekend, she kept getting worse and worse. And so I called the massage therapist and I was like, can you come out and maybe work the muscles around her spine, see if we can't get some of that to loosen up? And then, maybe we get a chiropractor out. Yes, there are equine chiropractors as well. So she came out on Tuesday, and by the time she got here on Tuesday, my poor horse could barely stand up. I mean, she'd go to turn and she would almost hit the ground. And it was really scaring me because there's a disease that horses can get that's called EPM. It's a neurological disease. And there's nothing you can do to avoid it. It's something that is passed from possums. And you can't keep possums out of a pasture. You can't keep possums out of a barn. It's just one of those things. There's no vaccination for it. There's none of that. And I was really worried because some of her symptoms were that. And there's nothing you can do for that particular disease. It only gets worse. So she came out and she worked on her, and she also was concerned about the same thing. And so that afternoon, I called the vet out. And he said, yes, I can be there tomorrow. So he said he could be here on Wednesday. Now, remember, I was going to take my Dane in for surgery on Wednesday. And I knew that I was trying to get everything together for today because I have something that I want to give the people who are viewing who are interested. And I was working on some other interviews and some other things, and knew that I had my Dane to take in for surgery. And now I had to squeeze in the equine vet coming out and running all these tests and doing all of this, and then getting him done and being able to go back and get my Dane. Now, going back and forth, that's 30 to 45 minutes in each direction. So it was just one of those days, and the stress of not knowing, right? Your dog is being put under, your horse is collapsing, you're having x-rays done and test run and all kinds of stuff. And as it ended up, it wasn't a neurological disease. It actually is her hooves. And she's now wearing boots that are made for walking.
I love it.
And she is sassy in them now too. She is 100% better than what she was. She's still not at 100%, but she's definitely 100% better than what she was. And not only is she wearing boots, she has wool socks on too. So it's quite the sight. Actually, you can see it on Instagram, on my Instagram stories and on my Facebook page stories today. You can see a picture of her in her socks and boots. So the surgery ended up fine with the Dane, and we're just waiting on the results back from the biopsies that were taken. And now it's just a matter of keeping her stitches. She's laying on the floor right beside me. That's why I'm looking over to the side. Now it's a matter of keeping her away from her stitches and, keeping the horse in her boots. And I actually have an injured foot too. So it's been...
Yeah, I was going to say there's another hoof involved, I believe.
Yes, there is. And up until this week, I had not worn regular shoes since July 4th. So I'd been running around barefoot and in particular flip-flops, and I only had like one pair of flip-flops that went across the top of my foot the right way. So it's been quite the drama-filled environment around here. I had someone send me a message and said, well, Ange, what would you do if you had children on top of all of this? And I said, well, I would do basically what I do with everything. I'd do the best that I could with what I had. I mean...
And I want to point that out to like everybody that's listening, because I'm sure that no one has any life going on. You know what I mean? Right? I'm sure that everyone listening, has their cup of tea, and they're not thinking about anything, and they're just like enjoying life, and don't have any idea what you're talking about having a stressful.
No. Everybody watching is just eating bonbons and having people peel grapes for them and someone else fanning them, feet propped up. So yeah, absolutely.
If you're out there and you're having that happen, send us pictures so we can live that.
Yeah. No kidding.
Yeah, I want to come visit.
Exactly. I don't know though. I'd probably be the fan one. I love it. Well, so such a crazy week. And, a lot of people, I'm going to say this and you don't know I'm going to say this, so I'm probably going to be in trouble. But you are, like I said, the poster child for like Hope to Hope, because you've been through a lot in your whole lifetime, and including this week. But you still show up. And I think that is such a success trait, and it's such a sexy quality when you know that life is crazy for everyone, but you don't even let that be part of the excuse. Like, you just know it's going to be crazy, it's going to be messy, it's going to be whatever it is.
Yep.
And you still showed up today, and you still have a heart to serve, and you still have tried to put together something to give everyone, which just tickles me, because that's just you. That's how you are.
Yeah, I was up late doing it.
Well,
but it's done.
At nighttime, so I said you didn't have any other time but nighttime. So
exactly. I was. Oh, and by the way, yesterday the farrier came back out to work on her again. So in the middle of trying to make up for all of that, the first half of the week, I was like, okay, yeah, you can come back by.
I love it. I love it.
But it's, and you ladies know this, it's, you don't get to a point to where you can handle all of that without doing the work yourself, right? Because you have a choice. You can run around frantically like Chicken Little, the sky is falling, the sky is falling, the sky is falling, right? And I don't know why I just remembered that. That's childhood coming back, right? But, that didn't work for Chicken Little either. It doesn't work for us, and it didn't work for Chicken Little either. So, you have to, you can choose to do that, but you're not going to be very productive in doing that. And one of the things that I wrote about with that quote today was, I've done a lot of work to be able to get to this point, and it takes a lot. It takes a lot of self-realization. It takes a lot of introspection. It takes a lot of journaling and praying and, doing all the things, all the things to get to a point to where, and you know what's most important with that? It's also about releasing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you get to a point of surrender and you just go, I can't do anymore. That's why when the friend of mine said, well, what would you do if you had kids? I'd surrender. Not that I would give up. And when I say surrender, I don't mean wave the white flag and turn it all in. I mean, just surrender to the process, because that's all you can do at that point. You do what you can with what you have.
I think that's such a place that so many people don't realize and don't get to. They stay in that anxiety and they stay in that place of just insanity, you know, and thinking, why is this happening to me? And why am I the only one going through this? Because, you know, out of the entire world, there's probably a handful of you that had horse and dog problems in the same week.
Same day.
Day. And so you look at that and you think, okay, so if you're not feeling like the only one, you know what I mean? If you're not I think you have to go inside to get the work done, but you also have to get out of there, like you said, and release that, because if you stay in there, it just builds. Poor pitiful me.
Right. And it gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
And that creates more anxiety.
Oh, absolutely. And that was actually something else that I touched on in my posts today was, you know, don't do what I did when I was going through that and learning to handle it. I did it by myself. And I say by myself, it wasn't truly by myself, because there were certainly resources that I went to. I went to conferences, I went to therapy, I read books, there were a lot of things that I did, but I didn't surround myself with like-minded people. I didn't go to friends and family for that support. And here's why. And this is why most people stay in that place. Mm-hmm. People don't want to look imperfect. Absolutely. People don't want to present themselves as being vulnerable. Yep. You know, everything looks great. Everybody wants to see the highlight reel. And I think we talked about this one time before. Everybody's seeing everybody else's highlight reel. They're not seeing the behind the scenes reel.
Yes.
And everybody wants to present their own highlight reel. And that's just not real life. The highlight reel is not real life. Real life is that behind the scenes thing. Real life is running around with a bandage on my foot, hobbling down to the barn for 3 weeks to take care of my horse, and trying to still work out and trying to still work, and, you know, and my house getting messy because I can't do everything that I need to do. Yeah. And, you know, that's real life, you know, and staying up till 2:00 in the morning to put things together. I mean, that's real life.
But what an amazing life. I mean, I do want to say that it is an amazing life when you recognize it as an adventure. And, you know, instead of, oh my gosh, this is happening to me. Okay, this happened. Now what are we going to do about it? You know, there's such a shift there.
Yeah, that's a fantastic mind shift.
It's taking a 2-letter word and turning it to a 3-letter word. It's happening to me versus it's happening for me.
Very good.
Absolutely. So when we can make that little bitty shift, then you can figure out what's the lesson in it. What am I needing to learn here?
Yeah.
You know, if
opportunity.
Yeah. You know, if everybody's not moving fast enough and you're not getting anywhere on time, maybe you're needing to learn patience. You know, I mean, and with everything that was happening this week, maybe patience, maybe surrender, maybe whatever it is, or all of the above, you know, continuing that process. So what is it that you can learn in the middle of the mess that you're in? What's the message in your mess?
Well, and something as horrible as your foot getting hurt makes me know that, number one, I don't want to do like that. I don't want to do power washing. And number two, if I do, I'm wearing steel-toed boots.
You know what? Any kind of shoe would have been better than what I was wearing. And it was so stupid what I did. But, you know, it's funny when you drive a race car, when you're driving on the track and they tell you, don't look at anything you don't want to hit. You know, if you're driving and, you know, all they do on, you know, like with NASCAR is turn left, right? And they tell you, don't look right, because if you look right, you're going to turn the car that way. So, you know, you're always looking left. And, you know, whatever you're doing, you know, don't look at the car that's coming right beside you. Don't look at the wall. Don't look at da-da-da-da-da. Well, the same thing's true evidently when you're pressure washing.
I love it.
So if you turn your head, the wand follows your head, and it came across the top of my foot.
So 2 lessons: wear steel boots, and second, turn your head.
Exactly. Well, you know, that's actually kind of a profound statement.
Yep. Keep your head straight.
Because if you think about that, even in business, because you're like a serial entrepreneur, you know, you came from corporate, you've done amazing things corporate wise, and then you came into the entrepreneur world and, you know, online world. And I think about all of that, and I think that's kind of the same thing. Don't look around at what somebody else is doing. Don't get your eyes off what you need to be doing. And I think that's great advice even in that.
Absolutely. And, you know, one of the things that I find myself doing is you know, you're supposed to be super consistent with your social media and that kind of stuff. And I get so focused on what I'm needing to get done, I totally forget about, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to do this post, or I'm supposed to do blah, 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 blah. And the whole day goes by and I haven't gotten it done because I've been so focused right here doing that piece, right? And so, yeah, I mean, have you guys read Shonda Rhimes' book, A Year of Yes?
I've not read it. It's in my Audibles. I just haven't gotten to it yet.
And Audible is a great way to read the book because she reads it herself. And, you know, she tells it just like she tells how she does all of her TV programs. It's a great listen. But there's one thing that she says in that book that we all know, but we don't take to heart. Anytime you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else.
Yes.
So if you say yes that you're going to that party, then you're saying no to the work or to your children or to your spouse or to what. And if you say yes to your children, then you're saying no to your business. You can't be in 2 places at one time. I'm not like Molly the sheep that they cloned. I can only be in one place at one time. I can only be doing one thing at one time. So
now, I'm going to contest what you just said, though, because you and Wonder Woman have not been seen in the same room. So I'm not sure that that's true, because Wonder Woman can do more than one thing.
Well, she just does them really fast. It's still one thing at a time.
That is so funny. Give me that right there. I have to laugh and tell you, guess what's still sitting on my table?
That's so awesome. I love that.
She rescued me. This is just to be real. She rescued me with something because I was running out the door trying to get to go see my son, and I could not get this video to like download and upload and do what all it was supposed to do, its dance, what it was supposed to do. And she was so sweet. She reached out. This is Biz Bestie stuff. She reached out and she said, you know, I can do that for you and I can show you how to do it. And she said, and I told her what I was getting ready to do. And she said, let me just do it. Just put it in Dropbox and just let me do it. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, she'd like put her cape on, and then she corrected me. She put her bracelets on. It was
exactly. Exactly.
And so she rescued me. And then was it 2 weeks? I think it was 2 weeks later. She was going to teach me how to do it. And the same thing, basically the same, like, not emergency whatsoever, but I wanted to go see my boy. And anyway, she rescued me 2 times before I learned how to do it. And I think I'm so thankful for people like that in my life, because that's the kind of stuff, like, I think that you are Wonder Woman. I think nobody just understands that you are really Wonder Woman. But I think that we need that so desperately in our lives, for someone to say, you know what, I just got this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you are that girl.
Well, we all need somebody like that, and we all can be that person from time to time. We can't always be that person, but there are times when we can step up and say, hey, I've got your back.
Yeah.
I've got your back.
Well, and
or as they say in the military, I've got your 6.
Exactly. One of the qualifiers that I think is really important with a biz bestie is that you don't just depend on them always. Like,
Right.
You knew me well enough to know that I wanted to know how to do it. I just couldn't figure it out at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And that I would come and learn it. And you sent a special gift to the club.
Yeah.
And I took it and I did it. Like, I learned from that how to do it. And the third one I did all by myself. And so, but the thing is how amazing it is when you surround yourself with people who can do that when you have a week, like, with your horse and your puppy at the same time, or when you have something going on, that they can come in and they do have your back, and they do have your 6, and they do have,
Exactly.
I think it's a testament to you, and I don't mean to just keep bragging on you, but I am grateful.
Go on.
I'm grateful for people like you in my life. That's what I'm grateful for. And I think that anyone out there who's going through a week like you've had, and you still showed up, that they can also know that there is a way, to still show up. There is a way for people to come together and help. And there is a way to make it through. And sometimes, like you said, you didn't get everything done. Maybe your house is a little messy because you haven't been able to do it. But,
yeah, we're not going to turn the camera around the other way.
But you know what? Somebody sitting out there passing really hard judgment on themselves, they might be looking at their house because they got little kids that are messy. And they might be thinking that they could never do what you do because they've got these little, kids that keep dragging out toys. And the truth is, we all are in different seasons. We're all in different things, but we all have stuff going on. Like, we all have times when, and I can tell you, I had weeks and weeks sometimes of mess. Not just 1 week, but multiple weeks, turning into months and turning into sometimes years of things.
Exactly.
That I don't want anyone to be discouraged from where they're at. If your house is messy, call your bestie and see if they'll come clean it, or just be okay with it.
Yeah, just lock the door and don't let anybody in. Yeah, I'm sorry, you're going to have to leave that on the porch.
When my babies were little, this is funny that you say that, but when my babies were little, and there was a season where I had gotten sick, and then I was trying to still take care of my babies and this whole big thing, but my house was terrible. It was really messy because 2 and 4-year-olds don't understand the concept of let's not do that so that we don't have a messy house. Mm-hmm. And I laugh because I finally got to the point where if someone wanted to come over, I didn't want to not let them in the house. I just told them, if you come in and you pass judgment, I have a broom that you are welcome to use. But if you don't pass judgment, I'd really like for you to visit,
Right. Right.
Well, there's actually a quote.
I get it completely.
There's actually something that I found, and it talks about somebody that's a perfectionist, and a lot of clean houses because somebody's a total perfectionist. I used to be there, not there anymore. But it says it's like being on a merry-go-round, you never get off.
Oh.
And it's true. I mean, nothing is ever good enough if you are focusing in, I'm the first one to want to have a clean house. But if something gets out of order anymore, I'm different. It used to be, I was fanatical about it. But I truly understand the concept. And so, when you're off that merry-go-round, things happen the way they're going to happen.
Absolutely. And ladies, let me tell you, talk about being a perfectionist with a clean house. There was a time where I would take Q-tips and toothpicks to the crevices in my kitchen cabinets and around the edges of appliances and clean all of that out. I mean, I had to quit doing it. And a friend of mine was here and saw me pull out one of my drawers. And they said, oh my God, I have never seen a drawer that organized in all of my life. Because what I do, I fold, instead of putting stacks of, shirts or shorts or whatever, one on top of the other, I fold them so that the bent piece, and then I put them in that way. And so you have rows of them. It's like going in a department store and I'm like, but I can see everything. I don't have to dig through it. And they're like, okay, but you have a little bit of a sick mind.
Okay, you can come visit me anytime. I don't want you to get the broom. I want you to get the drawers.
And when you get done in Texas, you can come to Las Vegas. Okay. You have this whole new career.
Well, okay, let's go back to your quote, because we definitely know that life happens. Yep. And that it's messy and it's okay, and it's our mind that needs to change to see it as an adventure instead of so devastating. Mm-hmm. So how does your quote play into that?
Interrupt anxiety with gratitude. And how you do that, and this gets to the gift that I have for today too, because you have to learn to be able to manage your mental process and your emotional process. And the way that you do that is to learn alternatives. We get so wound up tight about, like you were saying, the same story over and over and over and over and over and over and over again in your head. So how do you take that story and change it? And you have to study different ways to go about that. There's a whole plethora of ways to do it. There's meditation. There's, and I believe Jody was on just before, and I think she did a little meditation for us. Meditation is one. You can go to, therapy. You can journal. There are various books. There's an incredible book called The Power of Neuroplasticity by Shad Helmstetter. And he originally years ago wrote a couple of books, what to say when you talk to yourself. I think that's the name of it. It's essentially that. And they've actually done studies that our internal dialogue will direct exactly where we're going. And they've shown that there are physical aspects to our mental internal dialogue. There's a physical aspect to it. You can actually change your DNA. You can actually change all sorts of things if you can adjust that internal dialogue. And there are just a lot of ways to go about that. Journaling is a great way. Exercise is a great way. Making sure that you've got movement in your body, because it's all interconnected. If you're eating healthy, if you're drinking plenty of fluids, if you're sleeping enough, if you're doing things like hugging on your animals or your children or your significant other or your friends or whatever, getting that oxytocin and serotonin and dopamine and all of that sort of thing, and not doing it on your electronics. That doesn't do it exactly the same. But actually having that human connection, both with yourself and with others. And we have to retrain ourselves how to do that, because we've gotten so far away from it. Absolutely. And and the other piece, and this is also in the gift that I'm sending, planning your life out. People say, oh, I want freedom. The best way to have freedom is to have discipline. Mm-hmm. If you know that you're going to get certain things done, that gives you free time to do the other things, because it alleviates your mind. It allows your mind to work in the areas that are more open. In fact, I wrote a quote down today. I was listening to something. I'm pulling this up on my phone because I want to make sure that I read the whole thing to you guys quickly. Bear with me one second. You're going to like this one too. Sow a thought, you reap an act. Sow an act, you reap a habit. Sow a habit, you reap a character. Sow a character, you reap a destiny.
Wow.
That's good.
Right?
Can you post that, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, when I heard that when I was going for my walk this morning. I'm like on my phone writing it as I'm walking. So yeah. Sow a thought, you reap an act. Huh?
I love the stuff you share.
Well, and my squirrel brain is always absorbing from all sorts of places. So I'm like recording it into stuff and writing it on little pieces of paper. And I'm driving down the road, writing it on or I'm in the shower and I'm writing it on the shower wall.
I love it. I love it. Well, so, okay. You keep alluding to this free gift, and we are out of time. Like, we're actually past time, as always. So,
us running out of time?
I know. Never. I can't imagine us talking too much. Like,
I know.
We've actually been cut off of what? Zoom and Be Live and Messenger. We've been cut off all of them. I think they all send us messages to be quiet, but we don't.
Press those vocal cords, ladies.
So tell us about this thing that you have created for the Hope to Hope conference.
Absolutely. It's a list of my favorite things, a few of my favorite things. And I actually talk about that. I have a confession where I've never seen The Sound of Music, but every time I hear these are a few of my favorite things, I always think about that song. So what I've done, I've put together a list of a few of my favorite things. And there's a list of books, there's a list of journals, and there's a list of planners.
Wow.
So, awesome.
That is so awesome.
It's a really short list with each of them. And like with the planners, there's several different planners that are in there. So you get to pick and choose which one works for you. They're all really great. The books are about motivation and mindset and all sorts of things. And then the journals some are really quick journals, some are long form journals, and some of them are just regular old notebooks. So
awesome.
So thank you so much.
Absolutely. And you can get it at awstillwell.com.
Oh, they just go to your website then?
Yeah, just go to awstillwell.com. I made it just a little link. Put in your email and it pops up and you download it right there.
Okay. Well, we'll make sure we get it in the comments too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good little list. And if anybody has any questions about it, once they get it, let me know. But yeah, I wanted to share that because it's just a really cool, the books are great books from a lot of different perspectives, high performance habits and that neuroplasticity aspect and mindset and all sorts of things.
All kinds of good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like Stephanie and Camille are on too. And I think Cheryl was on earlier. Hi, girls. I just want to say, I'm so thankful for all of you watching and being on with us. Angela, absolutely. I always appreciate you. You are amazing. And I am glad you're in my tribe, in my world, and one of my biz besties.
I love being in the world with you ladies. Connie and I had a fantastic conversation the other day. And we had to make it work too, because we kept getting cut off.
We did. I love it. I think there might be a common denominator there.
What?
Well, thank you so much. And we'll be praying for your sweet baby, fur babies.
Yes, absolutely. They still need it. They definitely still need it.
I'm Coni Meyers with Kick Butt Leadership.
And I'm Kim White with the My Sexy Business team. Thank you so much for being on the Hope to Hope conference. If you're following the conference, this was session 18. We're about to head into session 19 at 3 o'clock Central Standard Time. This princess has so many time zone issues. We actually have 6 different countries represented on this Hope to Hope conference. So I am so glad you guys are here with us, and we will see you in the next session.